The evolution of artificial intelligence is being increasingly spoken of as a potential catalyst for growth and development of technology and economic power. It continues to excite and spook at the same time. For a country like Nigeria, that conversation revolves around the possibility of job losses as a result of AI intervention in the production process. But how can AI enable growth in various sectors of the Nigerian economy? What could the challenges and ethical considerations surrounding AI in Nigeria be? Well, we will now turn to have a quick chat around all of that with business growth strategist and AI transformation leader, Dotun Adeoye. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on Newsday.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, considering Nigeria's large youth population that's open to adopting new technologies, of course, you know that we have over 60% of Nigeria's population under 25. That's a huge opportunity, isn't it?
Yes, AI gives a huge opportunity to the current government, the private sector, the public sector. There is a lot of fears about AI taking jobs, but if we look at other evolution in terms of development in the past, when we had tractors being coming around, a lot of the horse traders are very scared and very worried about what is going to happen to them. But you have to drive the tractor, you have to repair it, you have to oil it, you have to service it. So it gave a lot of opportunities. In the area of AI, there's going to be a lot of opportunities in different sectors, in the tech sector, in the healthcare sector, in the financial services sector, in education and other sectors. So AI is actually a secret weapon for the Nigerian entrepreneurs, business leaders, and the government.
Right. Now, how can we use AI, to enable growth in various sectors of the Nigerian economy?
Well, that's an interesting question, because when you think about expanding the existing sector, AI can help in technology advances in terms of creating jobs. So if you think about financial services, currently the fintech sector has been using AI, but we can also have the same in the education sector, in the healthcare sector, even for security, for deterring corruption, in terms of building algorithms that will detect anomalies. You can train data analysts, data scientists. You can have a lot of things happening in different sectors, in the entertainment sector, in music. The young people can bring AI in, and there could be a lot of training that AI can be embedded into that will help the creation of jobs.
Well said. Now, I've seen quite a couple of, points that were raised in terms of challenges of AI that are specific to Nigeria. But two that stood out for me were the cultural resistance or lack of trust in emerging technologies, and also the lack of regulations and governance frameworks around data privacy, algorithmic bias, and job automation. Can you suggest ways that we could, work around this or conquer these challenges?
Well, thank you. AI in its current phase, in its current wave, is emerging in terms of the generative AI that a lot of people are raving about. But in terms of ethical consideration, as an example, I got certified in AI ethics, and I can tell you that across the world, regulating AI is just coming up. So if you think about Europe or the US or North America, we have the EU AI Act that just been released by the European Union. The Nigerian regulators can adapt this as a guideline or localize it. And there are opportunities for doing different things. So you have organizations like NITDA, they are currently looking at AI regulation. And there are loads of opportunity in terms of ethics. And currently, Nigeria was part of the AI Safety Summit that happened in Bletchley in the UK. So I can see that there are strides being taken in terms of ethical consideration in terms of AI.
Right. Now, bringing the conversation back home to Nigeria again, of course, we know we don't have a formal AI policy as we speak, but what is the future of AI for Nigeria, especially given the policy framework that you've alluded to that already exists in other parts of the world?
So the AI industry is evolving worldwide in the current wave. In terms of regulating and policy framework in Nigeria, I've followed the government in terms of what the government is currently doing. The Minister of Digital Economy is working on a national AI strategy, which is being discussed. There are also things being discussed by, I think, NICTA, and also in the private sector, there's been a lot of discussions. Within my organization, AI in Nigeria, we are also looking to work with different stakeholders. So we have a lot of forums and events coming up where we're going to help to steer the conversation and localize creating a national policy on AI, both in the private sector and the public sector, because there need to be a cohesion. And one of the things we have now is a lot of silos. So we're trying to help in terms of bringing those silos together to work together to create an AI framework and policy that is centralized and is very Nigerian in its approach.
I'm glad you brought up what you're working on in terms of fora that would enhance cohesion, because you're seeing a lot of activity going on in silos. So we know that this type of collaboration you're talking about will need to be strategic, whether it's going to involve the government, startups, diaspora, and educators. They will be crucial. Which of these stakeholders would you say is not doing their part in pulling their weight when it comes to this?
Well, I think that's a very interesting question, because if you look across the world, so the two most advanced markets in terms of artificial intelligence, according to a recent survey, is the US and China. Even in those markets, one of the things you will find out is that even the regulators in those markets are just evolving the right framework to bring the stakeholders together. And you have the enterprise organizations, startups, civil society, the education sector, government, public sector, the AI infrastructure providers. All these stakeholder groups have vested interest in AI. But Nigeria, I think most of what has been happening so far, we've had some things happening from the federal level. I've not really had much in the state level, the local level. And also looking at laws being passed in the Senate as an example, but it also needs to start from the regulator. And I think there are a few different organizations that needs to be harmonized and brought together. That's one of the reasons why we've stepped in to say, okay, how can we start the conversation of bringing everybody together? And I think there's a lot of opportunities in terms of job creation, in terms of solving our local challenges by embedding AI into our polity. Thank you.
Right. You speak about a lot of opportunity, but what about appetite? What is your feedback so far? Are people ready and willing to jump into this new world that, like you said, it does cause a lot of concern and worry to a number of people? In Nigeria, do you think there's a sense of excitement about moving forwards with AI, or are we still a little bit anxious about the downside of what delving into this world can mean for us?
Thank you. There's been a lot of different feedback in terms of the thinking about AI in Nigeria. So we have challenges in terms of the infrastructure challenges. We have the skill gap. We have the data privacy concerns, which you mentioned before, the funding issues. But, all these issues are there, just like any other evolving technologies that are coming up. The interesting thing we are getting as a feedback is that even though these concerns are there, the players are very enthusiastic about potentials in terms of learnings from global sources. And this is one of the reasons why we're trying to see what we can do to help through the forum we are putting together at the end of February. Thank you.
Now, of course, you touched on this, but I'd like you to elaborate, if you can, about the opportunities that AI presents when we look at the agriculture sector and the health sector specifically, especially in the health sector where, it's being said that we would see improvements through better access to diagnosis and whatnot. In that regard, can you touch on what how AI could be of benefit in these two sectors specifically?
Thank you. Agriculture and healthcare are very key sectors in the Nigerian economy. So in the agriculture sector, there are multiple opportunities. So we can look at, optimized farming practices. We can look at prediction of weather patterns, AI helping with that, AI enhancing crop yields, boosting agricultural productivity. And it's about understanding data science, being able to embed it into agriculture practices and processes. And also, there are also opportunity within robotics to also do some things within the agriculture sector, as well as using drones in terms of monitoring and being able to understand what's happening in terms of irrigation needs, in terms of weather forecasts and those sort of things. In the healthcare sector, I don't know if you saw, there was something that was going across a few months ago where there was an operation that was done remotely using AI from the US to the UK, where a banana a banana peel skin was being operated on. So it was remote operation being carried out, and it was successful. There are opportunities in terms of telemedicine where AI algorithms can be embedded into the operation. There are other things that can be done in terms of healthcare where rural areas would benefit. AI will help a lot of the rural area inhabitants of Nigeria. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, finally, before we let you go, and thank you for elaborating on that, the major challenge that has been highlighted is the lack of reliable infrastructure like consistent electricity and internet connectivity outside of urban areas. How do we work around this briefly, please?
So I know there's been a lot of positive development in terms of different types of renewable energy, alternative energy happening in Nigeria, and the deregulation of the sector to an extent. Artificial intelligence can potentially also help here. And there's a lot of investors who are carefully watching the polity, who are looking at the Nigerian economy and what the current government, the current administration is doing. And I think that these are some of the things that we will be discussing at the forum we are putting together, which I will share later. But I think basically AI in Nigeria, my organization, is looking to sort of see how we work with different stakeholder groups. And I'm hoping that, in terms of power supply, the investors and the opportunities that are there, AI will be able to pull together and bring some innovations as we are seeing in other parts of the world. Thank you.
Absolutely informative. Thank you so much, Mr. Dotun Adeoye, business growth strategist and the AI transformation leader. Very insightful indeed. Thank you for your time.